And I wanted to take a second and introduce Jenny Schaefer, who's with the Meadows, and thank the Meadows for being one of our silver sponsors. And she is going to be introducing Chevese Turner and myself. So I'm going to turn over to Jenny.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much. It is an honor to be here at this conference, and I am so excited to have the chance to introduce two of my friends and two true thought leaders in this field who've made a difference in my life and the life of so many people. So thanks for inviting me to do that. We'll start with Chevese Turner. Chevese is the CEO of the Body Equity Alliance and leads efforts to engage in advocacy and activism, provide education, coaching, navigation, and communications. She advises best practices and influences public policy on issues related to eating disorders, weight stigma, weight discrimination, and health equity. And like me, Chevese is driven by her own personal struggles. And Chevese, I will never forget when you founded the Binge Eating Disorders Association to address the unmet needs of the most common eating disorder, and that's binge eating disorder. Chevese, it is so good to see you. And Theresa, I have known you for a long time. I will never forget when we met. You are a true teacher. When I joined this field, you just embraced me and taught me so much about trauma and eating disorders in the same way that Chevese taught me so much about binge eating disorder. And I want to thank you for that. And, I learned from your bio that you do a lot of teaching. Theresa Chesnut is the owner and the founder of the Chesnut Group in California and Indiana. She offers practicum internships for master's level students and is the founder and creator of this conference, the Tri-State Eating Disorder Conference. Theresa specializes in the treatment of eating disorders, post-traumatic stress disorders, and issues related to anxiety, depression, and stress. She's a certified eating disorder specialist with the International Association of Eating Disorder Professionals and also a supervisor. So you're teaching a lot of people there. Although she maintains a private practice in Northern California, you will find Theresa living in Evansville, Indiana. And I think that has to do with your 4 beautiful grandchildren. Is that right?
That's
And this
correct.
is the coolest part, or maybe not the coolest, but a really cool part of her bio is that you have a sheepdoodle therapy dog named Stevie Nicks. And you guys are in for a treat today. This is healing the trauma of weight stigma with internal family systems. And I got a sneak peek that y'all are going to be showing a preview of Chevese doing a live session with Dr. Schwartz. And I got to do that once. So I'm telling you guys, this is going to be awesome. So thanks for joining. And thank you too for being here.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you so much. And the session with Dick is actually a pre-recorded one.
Yeah, right.
But thank you so much, Jenny. I'm so glad that you were able to introduce us, and I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, yeah. So true. So true. Yes.
All right, so I'm going to let everyone know that our moderator today is going to be Kiki. So if you have questions during our talk, make sure that you put them in the Q&A for her. So one of the reasons why I asked Chevese to be a part of this talk this afternoon is kind of the intersection of weight stigma, trauma, and eating disorders, and IFS. And as I noted when I did my introduction this morning, I met Chevese at the first Binge Eating Disorder Association conference in 2010. And then when I saw Laura Orlick's name pop up as one of the attendees, I had a flashback to when we did a pre-conference day on IFS and binge eating disorder. I did that with Dick Schwartz, and it was in Arizona, and I was walking down the stairs at lunch, and I fell, and Laura Orlick saved me, caught me. And that was a really great training day, and really brought IFS and binge eating disorder together back then. And why I wanted to bring a demo, Dick was not able to be in person for these next 2 days. And so when I learned that, I was like, how can we bring a demo? Because that's really, I feel like one of the most powerful ways for people to learn the model is to watch him do the demos. And you generously, courageously said, I'll fly to Chicago and do that. And so we taped that. And so after you have a chance to talk a little bit about yourself, we'll switch to the video. So welcome.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Teresa. This is a really important conference to me because I do feel like back when we started BETA and Teresa was part of the board for many years, and as was Amy, who spoke this morning. And it was really during that time that I started to um, engage with IFS and realized, I'm really not recovering in a way that is um, in a way that I thought about recovery and what that meant to me. I was just working overtime on trying to lessen my behaviors, and at the end of the day, that really wasn't recovery. If anything, it was just keeping it sort of um, entrenched. So, any rate, I think, yeah.
Chevese, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm wondering if you could just talk about what led you to create Beta.
Yeah, so I really did it for myself. At the time in 2008, when I created it, I was still very much in a frame of mind that I needed to lose weight and that was going to be recovery. But there was really nothing out there for me because I had been told that I had an eating disorder and that it was called binge eating disorder. And so I was really kind of looking for how do I recover from this, but also lose weight? And um, I had just had lap band surgery in 2007. So here I am sitting in 2008. I start this whole organization to help people with binge eating disorder because I knew from going to NEDA conferences and other conferences that nobody looked like me, nobody was fat, and I use the word fat to describe my body. Um, Nobody looked like me. Nobody was talking about binge eating disorder. And yeah, so I started Beta. And, the universe works in mysterious ways, but I started reaching out to people to learn, like, who knows anything about binge eating disorder? Who treats it? And I found these people, they kept kind of popping up in my life and they all started talking about health at every size. And I was like, these people are a little off kilter. Like, how can you not want to lose weight? How could that be a thing? So it took me a little while. They all worked on me. And I found a therapist who was Hayes based. And yeah, that's when the organization took off. I took off on what I consider my true recovery journey. And we, in 2002, launched the first conference. And during that time, we also started to, and this was thanks to Wendy Oliver Pyatt, we started to talk about weight stigma and how that was showing up in all of these people who were um, trying to recover from binge eating disorder because the majority, not all, but the majority were in larger bodies, a spectrum of larger bodies. And I mean, forget atypical anorexia and all of that. I mean, I now know I had atypical as well as binge eating disorder. But back in those days, it was, only people with binge eating disorder could be fat. Um, but we really started talking about weight stigma. And up to that point, weight stigma had really only been um, talked about amongst social psychologists and within the fat acceptance movement. And so we were like, this only makes sense that weight stigma is a part of eating disorders for everybody in every size body. And so we started talking about it. And we were considered back then very fringy and these people were a little off kilter. And, you know, what is it? Almost 20 years later, there's a whole field studying weight stigma, the intersection of eating disorders and weight stigma, and everything else that goes along with that. I remember at one of our conferences, we started talking about weight stigma as a trauma because I had been doing some trauma work of my own, and I'm like, wait a minute, this thing's a trauma too. Like, this is the overarching trauma of my life. Yes, there were other things, but this is the big one. This is the one that my family was so concerned about my weight, and some members of my family weight shamed to a certain extent. This was the thing that I got bullied about on the playground and by my girlfriends, and by boys I was interested in. Um, and so I was like, how can this not be a trauma? And so we really started talking about it and as a trauma. And that's when, for me, we had done the IFS workshop and so forth, but that's when it really clicked for me that this is why IFS is so helpful, and some other modalities that are used for trauma, and that any work I was going to do going forward had to have a trauma lens component. And I've done AEDP, I've done a whole host of things, and I've worked with therapists who have integrated IFS into the work that they do with me. So it really has been this interesting journey, and I will say that um, the eating disorder part, all of the eating disorder behaviors were really much easier for me to let go of once I started doing the weight stigma as a trauma piece, and ADP and IFS were the two modalities that really helped with that because they're both very self oriented. And I like IFS because it goes even further than just self. It goes into actual parts where ADP doesn't. So yeah, I feel really strongly about the fact that with all of our eating disorder clients, and I see this weekly, I do the larger body group with the Alliance for Eating Disorders, and every week there's 4 of us who are facilitators. I often lead it, and we have 35, 40 people show up every week, and it's a support group, so we're not getting into actual treatment, but the amount of trauma that we're holding around body size and the grief that people have about their body sizes in that group is just, it's heartbreaking. And so many of them are not getting that help from their therapists. It's not even addressed.
Yeah, which again highlights again for me, like how important this is to be talking about this exact issue, where even with clients bringing this up to their therapists, it's either not being addressed or so many times people show up and talk about their therapist's own weight stigma and how it's impacting them. And I know that people really appreciate that safe space that you offer them. I hear a lot of really positive feedback about that group that you co-facilitate. The other thing that I was thinking about as you were talking is one of your missions with Vita was to get BED in the DSM.
Mhm.
So, that was a long time ago. And I think it's hard for people to think about it or know. And even clinicians that have been in the field for just a little bit, that BED has just most recently been in the DSM. I think it was 2015 or 16, 2015.
2013.
13. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a huge part to your drive. And I was just thinking as you were talking, like that in itself is a trauma to be so
Oh, yeah.
like
Mhm.
not seen and
Yeah.
and really having just anorexia and then also bulimia, but mainly
Yeah.
anorexia being the eating disorder that got the
Yeah.
attention funds and all of that. So I was just thinking about there's layers of trauma here that
Yes, absolutely. And now our big fight is, atypical anorexia is not typical. It is way more prevalent than underweight or average weight anorexia, and we
yeah.
shouldn't be calling it atypical. It's as, if not more dangerous, according to Dr. Aaron Harrop's research. And so, but it all goes back to the weight stigma of the field. You
Yeah.
know, there's so much of it, and I encountered that in the work we did with Beta. We just pestered the DSM committee. And basically, that's what it came down to. They were like, "Okay, please," but they wanted to know that there was utility in treating it, which to me just was like, how can there not be? Um, and I think the one thing that I regret about that designation is that, and I didn't know at the time, none of us understood at the time that BED is a restrictive eating disorder, and at the end of the day, BED for a large percentage of people is really more like bulimia because of the restriction. Um, and but nobody could nobody wanted to believe that or see it because people were fat who
Mm.
had BED. And so I do have regret about that, and there's a lot of pushback in the field now by certain researchers who want to prove that there's no restriction in BED, and that annoys me greatly. Because again, it's their weight stigma that's driving that. But yeah, those are the kind of things that sort of permeate our field, and they all are political. They all are, how do we classify people? How do we look at their, why can't we just look at these things as a spectrum? And the fact that weight stigma is such a huge part of the story for not just fat people, but for so many people along the entire spectrum. Um, and when you mention that to certain clinicians, they're like, oh, you know.
Mhm.
And I do some training with clinicians on weight stigma as well, and they're very scared. They've got these parts that they themselves have never addressed. So they're fearful of the anti-fat biases that fuel weight stigma. And so they're not going to address it with their own clients. And I can just see it happening in those trainings, the kind of look of deer caught in the headlight. And you can see the processing that is like, oh my God, I no, I can't, I couldn't do that. I couldn't discuss this.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's a huge topic, and it is critical. I know there are other factors in eating disorders, obviously, but this is one of the big ones that we have to address and dig in with our clients. I do another group that's with people who are 40 and above, and they're across the whole spectrum of eating disorders and body size, and it's all there too when we talk about weight stigma in that group. And some of these people are in their 70s. We have two women who are in their early 80s, and their entire lives, the story of their lives includes so much fear around their body size and being loved and being stigmatized and what all that means. And here they are an entire lifetime that nobody has told them that they are okay. They can take up space. So yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah, it is. It is. And again, just really underscores all of the different reasons to bring awareness to weight stigma and trauma and IFS and healing, which is kind of the topic of the work you did with Dick, yeah?
Mhm. Yes.
As we lead into the demonstration, is there anything that you want to say before we jump into that?
Um, it was such a great experience to work with Dick. I've read his books, I've seen him talk, and I was privileged to spend some time with him and his wife, Jean. And Jean, as Amy said this morning, has written a great book. I hope everybody reads it, and I'm sure she'll be talking about it tonight. Um, and as soon as I sat down in that chair, I'm getting verklempt just thinking about it now. But as soon as I sat down in the chair, I started crying. Even with all of the work I've done, weight stigma is, yeah, it's one of those things where my parts still are, there's a couple of them that are still scared.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a probably a lifetime of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And listening to Marcy's, I think I coming off of Marcy's talk, I was already in this like, listening to those stories because they they are my story,
Yeah.
especially Deb's. So I appreciate that, Marcy. And
Yes.
I hope I hope that people will a lot of people will get help a lot earlier.
Yeah.
So we all know that that's the key.
People are I don't know if you see, but people are sending you a lot of love as we go into this.
Yeah,
And
thank you. I
so
always cry when I talk, so everybody's used to it.
so as we begin to shift over, I just want to encourage all the attendees to as you're watching Chevese do her work with Dick, even though we're all virtual and we can't really see each other, but just to um, kind of unblend with any parts that might be there, just to hold kind of some self energy as we're all watching this work that you stepped into with Dick, and note any questions that you have after the video. And it's a full session, so after the session, we'll come back on and we'll take questions and process, and we'll go from there. Does that feel okay?
Great.
Okay. All right.
So, you said you haven't tried sort of pure IFS, but
Right.
done some parts where.
Yeah, and my current therapist, I do, or she does, what's it called? AES, is it ASP?
AEDP.
AEDP, yeah. So very, we're very focused on self.
Yeah, okay. Okay. But you know some stuff about IFS.
Yes, yeah. Amy and I talk a lot about it,
Uh-huh.
so I've learned a lot from her.
Mm-hmm.
There just aren't many people in my area that do it.
Baltimore.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like I talk in parts a lot, you know, because I know enough to be dangerous.
Right. A lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm happy to sort of introduce you to the process. Did you have a place you wanted to start? Or is there something you wanted to work on?
I think at this point, well, one of the things, what we were talking about downstairs is like the reactive part to, you know, the stigmatizing stuff that goes on and, you know, and the Steve Dunns of the world and that kind of thing. So I'm a big crier, so I'm going to cry.
Okay.
Yep. Just thinking about it makes me cry.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can start there.
Yeah.
So the part of you gets so hurt by people like that. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and just focus on that feeling and find it in your body, around your body.
Yeah.
Where do you find it?
Really in my chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you notice it there, how do you feel toward that part of you that gets so hurt?
I do feel empathy for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So let it know that and see how it reacts to your empathy.
It's glad I notice
You're good.
and that I am empathetic.
Good. And before we go any further with this part, just check and see if there's any fear about spending more time with it. And maybe even seeing where it wants you about where it's stuck in the past and things like that. Or doing it with me or doing it on video.
Yeah, I'm always an open book. I've found that to be helpful to me, and so I'm not scared about it being on video.
Okay.
I think there is a part, I'm not sure what it is, that is, I don't know if scared is the right word. It's yeah, I guess it is scared. It always comes back to fear, right? So yeah, it just is like how much more is this gonna hurt?
Yeah. So let me address that.
Yeah.
So I understand why that part doesn't want to go through the pain of it again and all that. But let it know that if it gives us permission to really go to this hurting place, it'll hurt for a while, but we can actually unload a lot of the pain. So you won't have to live with that kind of fear of being hurt like that.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, with these parts that have those fears, they're the boss. We don't do it without their permission. So just check with that part and see if it's still up for this or if it is up for this at all.
And it is, and in fact, it helped my body sort of release some of the tension.
Good, yeah. I appreciate it, and if it ever feels like it's too much, you can let me know and we'll pause and see what we can do.
Okay.
So any other fears before we go there again?
I don't think so, no.
Just check, just ask.
Yeah, okay. No.
Okay, good. So focus on the pain again. And how do you feel toward it now?
I feel more neutral.
You feel
That
open
it's-
to getting to know it?
I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
let it know that. Yeah, let it know. You really want to get to know it and help it.
Yeah.
And just see what it wants you to know about itself. and why these things hurt so much. And don't think, just wait and see what comes from this place.
It wants me to know that it's still always running in the background. And as much as I try to think it's not there as much, it is.
Okay. So there are times when you try to ignore it or pretend that it's not there. Is that right? Or you don't feel it so much?
I think I misinterpret it. I think I've convinced myself that it's not there as much.
Yeah, okay.
And then I put on a good face.
Right. And ask this part what that's like for it to have you do that. And just wait for the answer.
It feels really dismissed.
Yeah. So if it feels right and sincere, could you apologize to it for doing that so much?
Yeah.
And just see how it reacts to your apology.
It wants to believe me.
Right, you gotta prove it.
Yeah.
So let it know you get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the words are,
right.
cheap, right? Okay. All right, but let it know, at least for this hour, you're going to be with it in a very different way. And we're going to do it, we're going to help it.
Yeah, it said okay.
It's interested?
Yeah.
And at this point, do you...
Hey everyone, sorry that it's so muffled. I wanted to just stop this and see if we could just take a second so everyone has a chance to turn on the closed caption.
see it at all, or you just sense...
Has everybody been able to figure out how to do that? Yes, yes. Click on the transcript button. Okay, great. Okay. All right. So we will also make sure that everybody has access to this following. Perfect. Okay. Thank you all. We'll continue on.
I guess I see it. It just is like this blank ball.
Yeah. How close are you to the ball?
Very close.
You're right
Yeah.
next to it?
Yeah, I mean, there's enough distance that I can see the whole thing.
Great. Yeah, so how are you feeling toward it now?
I feel a little standoffish.
Okay. Do you know why? Because it's being sassy with you and telling you?
Yeah, I think it's just like you're still here.
Oh, yes. So
yeah.
We really need to get that part into a kind of waiting room until we're done.
Okay.
So that part is really going to get in the way. So you have to be a little firm with it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So now how do you feel toward the ball?
I feel warmer.
Let it know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let it know you're sorry that you've let that part be so hard on it.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah. And I can tell it's grateful for that.
For the warmth, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's just hang out with it this warm, compassionate way for a while, till it really does start to trust you more.
Okay.
You do have to earn some trust here.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I can get a little closer.
Yeah, good. Okay. And now that it's starting to trust you a little bit, let's just ask if it's ready to show you where it's stuck in the past with these feelings. And don't think, just see what comes with that question.
Okay. It's almost like it's jumping between two places. And that's in, when I was around 10, 12. And then in my later teens again.
So let's just stay with the younger one and ask that 10 or 12-year-old to really let you see and feel and sense everything about how bad that was. And you can share what you get or not. It's up to you.
It was it was this constant, it was a pressure that was always put on me, and also the the response of all the people around me.
Okay. You talking about family or
family and friends.
And friends.
Yeah.
So there was always pressure to get thinner.
Yeah.
And there were rude comments, or what do you mean by the response of the people?
Yeah, it was my mom taking me to the doctor for that explicit purpose and being put on diet pills, and the doctor insinuating that I didn't want it bad enough, and then my parents threatening to send me to a weight loss camp for the summer, and it was friends saying, "You have a pretty face. If only you were thinner."
Right.
It just, in my memory, and what was coming through was, it just was constant.
Yeah. So how do you feel toward that girl now as you see that and sense it?
I feel really bad for her.
Let her know. Let her know that. that you're really getting how horrible that pressure felt and all the comments and the messages about how you're not okay. And just stay with it, Chevese. And just see if there's more she wants you to get about all that. We really want to know how bad it was. Everything she wants you to feel and see and sense. Just gonna stay with it until she feels fully witnessed.
She keeps telling me that she feels like it's her fault.
Of course. Because she's getting that message,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How could she not? And what did that do to her? Ask her what that feeling was her fault. What did that do to her?
It made her, she's telling me it made her decide that she would do anything.
Try and be thin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the right thing to do.
Okay. And so it probably made her hard on herself.
Yeah.
She couldn't, right?
Yeah.
So ask her about that. What it did to her self-esteem and
She said that she decided she was going to have to do everything in her power to make people like her, even if she was fat.
okay, so some part decided it was going to please everybody so that she had some value even if she was fat.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
So it became a big people pleaser.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let her know that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, ask her if she does feel like that's everything, like you really get how bad all that was now, or if there's anything more. While you do that, I'm going to flip the light on because
Yeah.
it's getting dark in here.
Yeah. And she's also telling me that there was a part of her that kept saying maybe you just shouldn't be here. That's just not.
Like kill yourself or
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. Let her know you get that too. It was that bad
Yeah.
that she really contemplated leaving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, how's she doing now that you're getting this?
She's a little worried.
In what way?
That it's gonna make me really sad.
Oh, she's worried about you.
Yeah.
She's protective of you. Okay. Let her know she can leave that to me.
Yeah.
I won't let you get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But aside from that, what's it like for her to have you really, really get how bad it was?
she feels heard.
Good. Actually, check and see if that was her that was worried about you or if that was a different part. Just check for a second.
Oh, okay.
You can ask her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely a part that's always taking care of everybody.
Yeah. Is that the one that said was worried about?
Yeah, it does feel separate from her.
Yeah, so also into the waiting room until we're done. Just ask it to trust me about that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
'Cause it's really important that we just are with her as much as she needs.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mom part likes to be involved in everything.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it, and right now we can't
She
do
can
that.
take a break.
She can take a break. Yeah. So back to the 10-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if there's anything more. If she feels like you get her all now or not.
Okay. She does feel really abandoned too.
Yeah. By the parents or?
Yeah, because that was the time my mom's alcoholism was very much in full swing.
Okay.
My father was building a business that wasn't going well, and she knew that the writing on the wall wasn't, it was all going to collapse.
Okay.
Yeah, she could feel it.
So in addition to being bombarded by all these messages, she was worried about the family survival, right?
She knew it wasn't going to.
Wasn't going to survive.
Yeah.
So did she wind up having to take care of the parents too, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so she had all that responsibility in addition to feeling so unacceptable. And
Yeah.
okay, so let her know we're getting that too. It's horrible.
And my brother, he was younger than me, and so he was under
You have to take care of him too. So you became the adult in the family, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was good enough for that.
Right. All right, so let her know we're getting this. It sounds really, really horrible. Yeah.
It was a lot.
Anything else?
No.
She says no?
She says no.
All right.
Yeah.
So I want you now to go to her in that time period and just be with her in the way she needed somebody. So just tell me when you're in there with her.
Okay. I'm with her.
How are you being with her?
I'm hugging her.
How's she reacting?
She's crying.
Good. So just keep hugging her. Letting her know she's not alone anymore. That you're going to be taking care of her. And just see if she can trust that.
She's I don't know if giving into it is it's not what I mean. She's just very like falling into my hug.
That's exactly what we want.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Just let her know she's safe now.
Okay.
And see if there's anything she wants you to do with her or for her back there before we take her to a good place. Like Does she need you to speak for her to these people, or anything she wants, anything at all?
Yeah, she doesn't want to have to be the one that has to manage everything, including speaking back to people.
So does she want you to tell them that?
Yeah.
So can you do that for her?
Yeah.
Yeah, just do that.
That feels good.
Good. Yeah, ask her what it was like for her to watch you protect her that way.
She liked it.
Just see if there's more she wants you to do along those lines.
She just wants me to keep hugging her.
Okay. And if she wants to, we can actually take her out of that time to a good place. It could be right here, it could be at your home, it could be a fantasy place of her choice. Wherever she'd like to go. So just see if she's ready to do that.
Okay. She wants to go to, it's a meadow where I walk a lot.
Great. So tell me when you got her there.
Okay. We're there.
How does she like it?
Yeah, she feels good and protected and calm there.
Good. So tell her she never has to go back, and you're going to be looking after her this way.
Okay. Yeah, that makes her very happy.
And with that, see if now she's ready to unload all these beliefs and emotions she got back there.
This sort of, okay.
And ask her where she carries all that, in her body or on her body.
Yeah, it's like a pressure all the way around her body.
Yeah. And ask what she'd like to give it all up to. Light, water, fire, wind, earth, anything else.
Wind.
All right, so let's have the wind come in. To let all that pressure go into the wind and let the wind carry it away until it's all gone.
Yeah, I can see her smiling and waving.
Waving goodbye to
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just have her check her body and see if there's anything else that doesn't belong to her she'd like to unload.
No.
Okay. So tell her now that she unloaded that, she can invite into her body qualities she'd like to have and just see what comes into her now.
she wants to fill her brain with knowledge.
Okay. So she can invite some of that to come in, and then you can keep going with that.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it's hard to do that when there's all this other stuff,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how's she doing now?
Yeah, I can just see her being happy, like, just there's like a glow
Right.
around her. Yeah.
Okay, so she can stay there in the meadow, but there was a adolescent one
Yeah, like late teens.
ready to go to her?
Yeah.
All right, so focus on her and find her in your body, around your body.
She's all throughout my body.
Okay. How do you feel toward her?
I actually feel really grateful for her in some ways.
So let's let her know that. See how she reacts.
She's you better fucking feel that way.
That's great.
Yeah. And she's angry.
At you?
No.
The world?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So has that been her role, as be the angry one, or?
Yeah.
So she's protected you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why you're grateful?
Yeah.
Good. Good. Yeah, so let's just spend some time appreciating her until she really trusts that too, and trusts that you care about her.
Yeah, it doesn't take her a lot to convince her that
you care.
I care and that I trust her.
Okay, good. All right. So ask her where she's stuck in the past.
She's stuck in the how much she perceives I let people walk all over me.
Okay. So she's stuck in times where you were doing that?
Yeah.
Late adolescence or other times?
Say that last part.
Late adolescence?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she's stuck during that period when she had to sit frustrated watching how much
Yeah.
you didn't have boundaries and you
Right. And I didn't always let her
take over. Yeah. So tell her to really let you feel what that was like for her and see it and sense it.
She felt like in those times I didn't trust her.
Yeah.
That I was worried I was going to lose something.
Yeah. If you stood up for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to apologize about that?
Yeah.
Just let her know you're sorry you did that to her. How does she react?
She's kind of like, I get it, but it really pissed me off.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Does she feel now like you really get how bad it was for her? Or is there more?
Yeah, she believes me that I knew it was bad for her.
Okay. So I want you to go to her now in that time period and be with her in the way she needed somebody.
tried to give her a hug. She's like, okay.
A little less of a surrender.
Yeah.
So let's just hold her for a while.
Okay. She just is saying that she's appreciative of that, and she doesn't want me to lose sight of what she can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And ask her if there's anything she wants you to do with her or for her back there before we take her to a good place.
She just wants me to remember she's there. That's
the big one.
Yeah.
So is she ready to leave that time and place with you now?
Yeah.
Does she want to go to the meadow or someplace else?
No, she likes stomping around the city.
Okay. All right. So you got her there in the city?
Yeah.
Okay. And does she want you to hang with her or visit or?
Yeah, just walk and look at things.
Yeah, okay. So you're willing to?
Yeah, yeah.
Very good. So same thing with her. She never has to go back, and you're going to do that?
Yeah.
So see if she's ready to unload the feelings of belief she got back there.
Yeah, she's very ready.
And where does she carry that in her body or on her body?
Her shoulders.
What does she want to give all that up to? Light, water, fire.
Water.
So take her to the water.
Okay.
When she's ready, she can let all that out of her shoulders and let the water take it away.
Yeah.
So it's all out?
Yeah.
How does she feel without it?
Yeah. She feels lighter.
Lighter, right?
Yeah.
And she can invite qualities now into her body too, if she
Mhm.
like.
Mm-hmm. She wants to be more compassionate.
Great. So that's coming in too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Okay, so each of them can stay in their places, the meadow and the city, but let's bring them together for a little while first.
Okay.
And just see how the two of them relate to each other.
Okay. The older one is, I just see her reaching out her hand.
Right. That's great.
Yeah, and saying, yeah, this is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
How's the 10-year-old react?
She's a little hesitant.
Mm-hmm. So let's just spend some time until they're comfortable, more comfortable.
Okay.
And let them both know you're there as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they're like your kids now.
Yeah. The younger one's glad I'm there because she's a little scared.
Okay.
Yeah, the older one's intense.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That'll take a while.
Mm-hmm.
But before we stop, let's bring these parts out of the waiting room that had been so hard on the little girl.
Yeah.
And have them see how she is now.
Okay. Yeah, they're kind of, they both are like, okay, mom, get, you know, like, we don't need you. That mom part.
Oh, they're saying that to the mom part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is there a mom part that's there too?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Mom that carries the mother energy?
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how's it reacting to this?
Oh, it likes to control both of them, so it's a little, you know, worried.
And what's it worried about?
It's worried that they're just gonna be too carefree and
And then what?
and they might get hurt because they're not worried about the things they should be worried about.
Okay, but do they realize you're going to be taking care of this? You're going to be like the parent? Does she realize that?
Yeah, now she does.
Okay, good. Yeah. So ask her if she likes having to carry this mother energy, or she might like to unload it.
Yeah, she's just saying, I never wanted it.
No, she got stuck with it.
Yeah.
She ready?
Yep.
Ask her where she carries that in her body, around her body.
Her stomach.
What would she like to give it up to?
Not having all the responsibility.
Yeah. What would she like to give that responsibility up to? Light, water, fire.
Oh, yeah. Water again.
Okay. So take her to the water too. When she's ready, she can give up all that responsibility, all that mother energy. It was never hers to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, she was very happy to unload that.
Good. How does it feel now to not have it?
Much lighter.
Yeah. Okay. And she can see what kind of role she'd like to have now without that.
Yeah, she just wants to support what I want.
Great. So let her know that's her new role,
Mm-hmm.
and introduce her now in this new role to the others.
Okay. Yeah, the others are a lot more friendly to her now.
Yeah, good. And then also before we stop, let's bring in the parts that are so worried about going there and feeling too much and all of that, and just see how they're reacting.
Yeah, they're relieved that it wasn't bad at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you had to feel some, but really be able to let go of a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So given that, let's think about a situation that would trigger you ordinarily. Comment from somebody, and just see how it feels now.
Okay. Yeah, my teenager is the one that, yeah, she's saying I'm really trying to work on that compassion.
But how did the 10-year-old react? Did she feel as hurt, in other words?
No, the 10-year-old I felt like was, yeah, she's like behind the teenager.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and just she's not saying anything or reacting.
She's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then maybe just ask them, all of them, including the teenager,
Mhm.
to let you handle the situation. And see how that goes.
Yeah, the teenager's like, okay. She wants to
She wants to nail it.
jump in.
Right.
Yeah.
Would she let you do it?
Yeah.
And how did you do it? What did you say? What did you do?
I stood in front of all of them and didn't react.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So how's all that feeling now?
It's exhausting. Yeah.
You did a lot.
Well, yeah, just, yeah. It's a lot in a short time.
Yeah. Okay, does that feel complete for now?
Yeah, it does.
So thank your parts for
Okay.
taking this big risk.
Yeah.
And when you're ready, you can come back out. How do you feel now, besides exhausted?
I just feel lighter.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So this was great. You unloaded a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It will stick if you follow up. It may not if you don't.
Okay.
So by that I mean, on a daily basis, visit these parts and however you want to do that.
Yeah.
If you meditate, part of your meditation, and watch the video. And some people it really helps to map it out, so it's externally you can look at it and remember.
Yeah.
So whatever it takes to remember it and be clear about it, but to take these seriously as real inner beings that really need to feel like you remember them and you're not abandoning them again, then it will stick.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes 100% sense.
Okay.
Yeah. They need continual tending.
Yeah, they're little real beings.
Yeah.
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 And you've been, not to shame you, but you've been quite negligent.
Yeah.
As an inner parent. So.
Right.
Because you blended with these other parts that said they're too much or whatever they say.
Right. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Good stuff. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Chevese, there you are.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Everybody's probably the volume's loud, so too loud now that we're talking. So
Yeah. It's like yelling. My parts were very interested in seeing my parts or hearing me talk about them. So it was good to see it again. And I have remembered on most days to check in with those parts. So, and there's some others as well, but that did it was interesting because I call it my rebel part, the older teenager, and yeah, she really likes to interfere in everything.
So the rebel part was the one that you felt all over. That was the second one that you unburdened.
Yeah, and that part is the one that gets also very angry, and I think it was the part that really fueled me in my early beta days.
Fueled you?
Um, yeah, it was the one that was. I mean, I have an activist part, but the rebel one was the one that really wanted to just give everybody the finger and you know tell them sort of on behalf of everybody who was fat, to yeah, sit and spin, you know. It's sorry for the language, but that's true. That's how she is, and she's the one that, you know, tends to even now get me in trouble sometimes because, um, you know, I I I when I listen to her, I'm usually doing things that are um not always as productive, but they get the anger, helps me like just release anger. So she has a big important part. She's important. Um, but I think it's a lot easier for me now to not have her just kind of take over.
Yeah, it really highlights how Dick talks about there are no bad parts.
Yeah.
Just get kind of in these more extreme roles, and when you can unburden them. And I always love when I see an example of um, protectors being unburdened.
Yeah.
I remember when I first learned the model a long time ago, is like get the protector, build a relationship, have that one, step back, go to the exile and unburden. And you were able, I mean, there was like several different parts that unburden, and then bringing in the one with the mom energy
Yeah.
on your mom's energy.
Yeah. 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 It's all good stuff.
What do you feel comfortable talking about what's coming up for you right now as we're chatting about it?
Yeah. I have uh my little one's getting activated a little bit because it's a lot of vulnerability.
It is. Right.
Yeah.
So, what would feel helpful for that vulnerable part? Would it help to get open up for questions? Would it help? You and I talked about kind of going inside. What feels, what would be helpful for right now? Because that was a big ask and a big, huge piece of work that you did.
Yeah. No, I feel good asking or having opening things
Opening it
up
up.
for questions. Yeah, because I feel like that just kind of solidifies like this was a good thing to do. This was a good vulnerability.
Yeah. Okay. So, Kiki, let's go ahead and open it up for questions. And just so everyone knows, I know that the audio was harsh, and we didn't hear that when we went through it the first time. But there'll be a video with closed captions ready, probably at the close of our talk, and a transcript so everybody can have that. So, Kiki, any questions that are coming through?
So first, hi everybody, I'm Kiki. And thank you so much, Chevese, again for sharing. This was just mind-blowing for me in so many ways. So thank you. Somebody did initially ask if you could more or less define weight stigma in your perspective.
Yeah, so there before you can even get to weight stigma, there are anti-fat biases. And I look at them as like anti-fat biases are the beliefs that we have in a culture about people who are fat. So that's they're lazy, they're not working hard enough, they're um, dumb, they're not intelligent. It's all these things that our culture has taught us. And we know from really incredible research that has been done is a lot of those feelings really, or a lot of those cultural thoughts about fat people really started in the 1800s with the slave trade, and it came out of um, white women not wanting to look like black women in terms of their bodies and so forth, and eugenics and all of that. So it has a torrid past, definitely, where all of that began. Um, so all of those thoughts, the anti fat bias, leads to weight stigma, and weight stigma is essentially how we take those anti-fat biases and turn them into actions against people. So, doctors withhold care because, you've got to lose weight before you can have fertility medications, or you can have top surgery, or you can have this surgery, but we'll give you bariatric surgery. It's kids being bullied, it's adults being bullied, it's, the pharmaceutical industry using the stories of fat people to sell their drugs. Yeah, so weight stigma is really all of the actions that are taken um, based on those anti-fat biases.
Thank you. So there are a few more questions. The next question was, what have you noticed, or have you noticed anything since doing this work? And if you are comfortable sharing, people would like to know.
Yeah, I mean, so I had done some work before, so I I didn't go into it not knowing anything. And so I was familiar with these parts, and especially around, my the 10 and 12-year-old, and my even younger part. But it really was the 10 and 12-year-old and the late adolescent part that was cognizant of how I was being treated with regard to my body. So, so that was the first time that I really focused on them, um, you know, around like how I had been treated because of my body and the intersections of other things happening in my family. So, yeah, it felt really good to do that work. It's not easy. Um, but I came out of it feeling like, yeah, this is it. This is the core stuff. And it has stuck with me, because whenever I notice myself going into one of those two parts, I can really recognize the triggers and everything that Dick, went through with me. And I really kind of just take myself to that meadow or into the city, those places that I really enjoy. And, I'm able to sort of calm them down. And I've worked on some other parts as well. So, yeah, it was a really good experience.
Thank
It sounds
you.
like, Denise, that you went into the work with Dick having an awareness of these parts, having done a lot of work, talk therapy, maybe other types of therapy with these parts. But it was by that one session with him, you were really able to do kind of either a deeper level or a different kind of level of healing that allows you now, when you notice that part being triggered, not getting so blended with it or trying to unblend with it, so you can lead more from self versus from that part. Did I follow that?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Because I'd done a lot of AEDP.
Can
Uh,
you can you say what that is?
I knew you were going to ask me, and I can't remember what it stands for. But if you look it up, it's very, very self-focused and somatics focused, and it is so close to IFS, except that it doesn't focus on parts as much. It focuses mostly on self and younger child.
Yes, thank you, Marcy. Accelerated experiential dynamic psychotherapy.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Diana Foch's work.
Yes, exactly. So, and I still work with that therapist, but she's getting trained in IFS now. So it's really kind of nice that we're starting, because I was using a lot of parts language.
Mhm.
And she was like, I really need to get up to speed on this. So, we kind of have learned together. But yeah, and I see there's another question about, were these parts fuzzy, or did they become sharper? Did they have shape and form? And I think because I already knew what they were, they weren't fuzzy to me. There was a time where they were very fuzzy and I had no clue what they, what they were, what they were trying to tell me. But I think it's almost more of a feeling than a picture for me. It's more like this. I've got this young energy that's buzzing around, and yeah, she's like reminding me of everything that happened, and so it's more like an energy than it is something that I visualize. So in that way, it's more fuzzy.
Mhm.
Thank you. The next question is one of the participants mentioning that as a person living in a larger body, they sometimes sometimes struggle to answer, where do you feel that in your body? Because they've had so many years, they say, severing their head from their body. How have you been able to build up the trust between you and your body to be able to do that again?
Lots and lots and lots and lots of work. I mean, it just never ends. That's how I feel, and I think that's my reality. I mean, I always say now that I'm in university level therapy, and I'll probably go get my master's and my PhD, because therapy will probably never end for me. And I know that's a huge privilege. But, you know, back in my elementary years, I too could not connect with my body at all. Um, it just was, it was better to leave all of this alone, and the only thing that I was going to do with it is try to make it smaller. It didn't deserve any love. It didn't deserve any kind of compassion and that sort of thing. So, you know, through the years, it's funny. I found myself actually like touching my body, and having that be like, okay, it's there, because it really was dissociative. It was like everything from here down, it was off somewhere else. Um, and I didn't want to think about it, or, when people would say things about my body, it was so otherworldly, because I just tried to disconnect from it so much. Um, so yeah, I would encourage you to do as much somatic work as you can, and not just because one works for one person doesn't mean it will for everyone. But if you can, um, you know, try to do the somatics. There are reasons though that, like, Theresa was talking about earlier, and Dick talked about for himself, like there are reasons that some people connect to their body better, not better, but easier than other folks. And I think those who are on the spectrum, or, there are lots of reasons why people may not be able to, but um, it also may just take time. And I also found that being in community with other fat people who were open to talking about their bodies made me feel more comfortable talking about my body, and then my body became more accessible. Um, so there was that, and I think there also is this other piece that goes in a completely different direction, but um, I think we don't talk enough about sexual and intimate experiences of fat people. And that was something that um, I I would, in order to feel something, I would basically just give up my body to a sexual experience that then I couldn't even really be a part of in my head. But it was like I was allowing my body just to feel something. And that was really not helpful either. But I think it was something that, it allowed me to be in a situation where I felt touch. I could escape in my head, but I could feel touch. I could feel, my body. And that seems so antithetical to what fat people experience so often, but it wasn't healthy, and it didn't help me, but it was a way to feel. So I don't know if that makes sense, but
Makes so much sense.
yeah.
The next question, if you're comfortable sharing with this, is
Mhm.
how do you feel about your body now? Do you feel differently now than you did before?
Yeah, I do. I do. I don't love it every day. I don't um it's like if given the choice, I would rather be thin. I mean, that's just the honest answer, because a living in a culture where fatness is oppressed is not fun. It's just not. Um, and I have some privilege, because I'm not, there's a spectrum of size, and I'm not the fattest of the fattest, and I don't experience, like I usually can fit into a an airplane seat, that kind of thing. But um, it's yeah, I think there's not one person on this earth that I can imagine wants to live in an oppressive state. But um, I have come to accept my body much, much more, and I don't allow it to keep me from living life. And that allows me to have more compassion for it. And just the other work that I've done in learning, why compassion is helpful, and I surround myself with people that understand this and know it now. It's I don't surround myself with people who think my body is awful, and it's really nice to have that on a daily basis. um, and sometimes when I venture out in the world, I still have somebody say, "Do you really think you should buy that at the grocery store?" and that kind of thing. Um, and a lot of times I'll say, "It's really none of your business," or whatever else I come up with. So
So one of the
I,
questions, Kiki,
yeah.
I'm gonna shift for just a second, the last one, and then I thought what I'd do is just read some of the comments to you, Chevese.
Mhm.
Um, so someone is curious about book and podcasts and other media recommendations for body liberation work. And maybe we could put a list together for folks so they can have those resources. Does that feel?
Yeah, and I don't know if that person in particular is familiar with Body Trust, but Dana and Hillary from Body Trust just did, I think, a 15 episode podcast that's really, really, really great. And it's all body liberation stuff. So I
And
would highly recommend that.
we'll pull that together. And then somebody just noted a maintenance phase podcast.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do, because it's been back to back, is I just want to share with you, Chevese, some of this so you feel kind of
You're gonna make me cry more, right?
Yep, I am. Yep. So thanks, Chevese. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to get tearful too, sitting here with you. Thank you so much for sharing this. Thank you. Thank you. So beautiful. Thank you. That was beautiful and powerful to witness. Thank you for sharing your vulnerability with us. Sending love, sending so much care, lots of hearts. Your little one is so seen and loved. Thank you for sharing. I'm a crier too, Chevese. It was a good thing to do. Chevese, thank you so much for letting us in. Your vulnerability and sharing is appreciated. I have a younger part that's inspired by your little one's trust in us to hold your story and your parts. It's a very good thing. Ina says, those who know me know I'm a crier too. I hope your little girl and other parts feel seen, safe, and truly appreciated by all of us. So much gratitude, Chevese, from Peggy. Thank you. Thank your parts for being willing to share this healing journey with us. They are now in our hearts too. Vulnerability also leads to connection, and I certainly feel that. I've known you for years. This is from Gwen. I've known you for years, but don't know you. I feel a connection now for sure, but since it's virtual, it's only one-sided. Maybe one day I can attend in person and meet you all. I hope so. Yeah. And then Enos again, Chevese and I shared last year that living in a fat body and or black body means you are always a target automatically for inviting stigma. We are always in the otherized gaze. We go down. Then thank you so much for this question and answer, and blah, blah. Thank you so much for sharing this about pleasure and intimacy. I was curious about the connection between disembodiment and impact on pleasure and intimacy. Then lots of love. Yes, your little one is seen, understood, and loved. Chevese, I'm not a crier. This is from Angela. I'm not a crier. Those of us know Angela. But thank your parts for being my teacher, my mentor, and my inspiration. So I appreciate everyone's patience with that video, but clearly we were able to get through to the heart of what all that is. And just so everybody knows, we will have the video with closed caption for you all. Please let your parts know that it was an honor to witness them. They were heard, extending them love for their courage. So
thank you, everyone.
Anything you want to close with, Chevese? Any further thoughts before we close?
I think just, if you're not trained in how to deal with weight stigma and trauma, please, please, please get trained. It's vitally important for any of your eating disorder clients.
Underscore. Okay, thank you again, my friend.
Thank you too. Good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, we will take about a 15-minute break and we will see you all back here.